Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Ascend Your Path. I am so excited, Linda. So good to see you.
Yes, it is. Long time. Long time
Yes,
excited.
yes. Awesome. So good. Good to have you here, Mary
Good
and Kim,
morning.
Barbara, Sandra Smith. Good to have you. So I just want to say we have such a great guest. We have great guest speakers today. And we have our very own Jay, which we love so much. Hey, Sandyland.
Good
You know,
morning.
we've been journeying for just as much, maybe about four years already. So Jay, we always so appreciate you, and to be able to have two of Forbes's speakers. Yes, because we did her speaker program together, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, Ashley and Carla, and it's so exciting because we were able to spend time in person in Florida and in Arizona. So this is such a thrill. So I'm so sure, I'm so great, happy to see everyone. Gilna, so good to see you. Yes. Thank you. So for everyone, if you could be on camera, please come on. Hey, Dawn, the UK is in the house. Okay, so today to um just to keep the time because the time goes by fast. So I just want to say again, thank you again for joining us on Ascend Your Path. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Diane Cunningham. I'm your host, and I have my beautiful partner and co-host, Olga Kavanaugh. She's going to be holding down the fort. She's going to share a little bit of housekeeping rules. But before we start, I just want to say I so appreciate you guys. I don't take this time lightly. Why? Because you could be doing anything with your time today, but you decide to spend it with us. Hey, Melissa. Hi, Melissa, Marisha. Thank you all so much for joining. So, Olga, do you have some housekeeping rules for us?
The housekeeping rules are very, very easy. You don't have to memorize them. We are going to run the show for about 2 hours until noon Eastern time. And there are no breaks. Basically, speakers are going to have their talk. And if you have any questions for any speaker, you can either write it in the message box or just hold it until the speaker is done, and you will have an opportunity to ask questions. We are not going to have any breaks, so just feel free to leave if you need, leave to do your stuff. And if you can stay on camera, if you cannot, it's fine. And at some point during the show, we are going to invite you to be on camera. So make yourself pretty because we want to make a group picture together later. That's it. Enjoy the show.
But thank you so much, Olga. It was so amazing. We just love working together. I know we've been through. Let me put up your hand if you've ever worked with someone and you can work all day and don't get tired. You have a partner like that. Yes. Because that's how it is, right? Because Olga and I sometimes we work together. We would start at 10 in the morning and it's like 9 at night and we're still going and we complement each other. So I'm so excited. So when you are blessed with someone like that in your corner, appreciate them. Let them know how much you cherish them, especially because it's hard to find people like that today. So I just want to welcome Chris. So it's hard. So I know time is going, but I just want to say our kickoff speaker is Carla. Carla, are you in? Are you on? Marilyn is here. Carrie Lily, my sister, my guru sister. We got a Kim B. Chris got a new look. Carla, are you ready to kick off, my friend? No, Carla's not kicking off. It's Ashley. Oh, why am I so confused? I switched things up. So it's Ashley. Ashley,
I am ready, Miss
I know
Diane.
you're ready. So with Ashley being ready, I just want to tell you a little bit about this is a sister that I inherited and I so enjoy spending time with her in Arizona. Last a few months ago. We
Yep,
had a time.
September.
Yeah, we spent a whole weekend together.
We did.
And we had so much fun. So with that, just to tell you a little bit about Ashley. Ashley's topic today is Who Am I Without the Roles? Rediscovering Your True Identity. Ashley is a self-renewal coach, speaker, and mentor, and the creator of Arise and Ascend Coaching, a faith-rooted framework designed to help women reconnect with who they truly are beneath the roles they carry. As a wife, mom of seven, as a wife and mom of seven, grandmother, and co-owner of a construction business, Ashley understands firsthand what it feels like to hold everything together on the outside while quietly battling burnout, overwhelm, and identity loss on the inside. Her own journey through exhaustion and self-abandonment became the foundation of the transformational work she now leads. Now, who could resonate with Ashley's story? Us as women, we give so much, and before you know it, it's burnout. So Ashley could speak first. First, I bit my lip and it's bothering me. Ashley can speak firsthand about that. So let's welcome to our virtual stage, Ashley Balza. Thank you, Ashley.
Well, thank you, Diane. That was a beautiful introduction. So first, I just want to say hi. I want to start really with a question for you, and not just that surface level question, because I really want you to feel this topic today. So my question for you is, who are you without your roles? Not as a mom, not as a wife, maybe not even as a dad or a husband, not as the professional, not even a helper. The one maybe who keeps everything running. When you strip all of that away, if that question really makes you feel uneasy and you're really starting to question, I don't know. That means you're operating from your roles versus your true God-given identity. And that's what I'm talking about today. And as Diane said, I'm Ashley Balza, also known as the Self-Renewal Coach, founder of Arise and Ascend Coaching, mom of seven. I also homeschool. I didn't put that in that bio, but we also homeschool 6 of those 7 kids. Grandmother of 2, and a co-owner of a thriving construction company. So I understand a busy life. And I really want to say, if you're watching this, obviously on the screen right now, or maybe you're catching the replay, or maybe you're watching in your kitchen, your car, your office, or your bedroom, wherever you are, I really need you to know that you didn't land here by accident. There was something that spoke to you when you maybe read the website that said, I need to be there. I need to listen to this. So I want to describe someone to you. He or she is a high-functioning person. They're, by most people's standards, they're managing the schedules. They're crushing it. Maybe you see it on social media, you see it in business. They're managing their household, showing up for kids. The reliable one. The one that you can always call and you can count on. You see the performance, again, in business, on social media. You can just pick up the phone and you can call that person when everything in your life seems to fall apart. They're giving, they're leading, they're serving. On the outside, everything looks fine. Put together, looks like they can handle all the things. But on the inside, they're falling apart. They don't remember the last time that they took time for themselves. And ladies, I really want to speak to you right now. Not time for your kids. Not time for your husband or your job. Just time for you. Because you're living your life not in the inside. You're just kind of going through the motions of your day-to-day. Again, that managing, the producing, the performing for everyone. Maybe it's chasing after those accolades. It's chasing after the validation. But really on the inside, there seems to be this tiny little voice that you have on your shoulder. Or maybe you just feel it in your heart that something is missing. Really, the scariest part of all of that is you can't name it. You can't quite put your finger on what it is that is missing. You've been so busy being everything to everyone. And you've completely lost yourself. But you know that there's this tiny little nudge of, I know she's in there somewhere. I just want to find her again. So I really want you to feel this. And if you're noticing that, like, take your breath away, or that gut-punching feeling, it's not a coincidence. And I say all of this because I was that woman. When you sit still every day and you get in tune with your body, or the clients that I sit with and I have them work on this, where they just sit with it. They're wondering, where did I go? And I can relate to them when they say that. And I really want to tell you something that I don't always talk about this publicly. But for a while, actually for a very long time, I was very good at doing all the things. Managing the schedule, taking care of the kids, a husband who was working 80+ hour work weeks. And quite honestly, he still does. But it was in that I felt useful, I felt needed, that I was productive. I could check the things off of the list. And I would celebrate, and I would be like, hey, did you see that I got XYZ done? I was seeking the validation because I thought that I was enough based off of the things that I was doing. But yet I still felt empty. Even though I was showing up, I was giving. It didn't make me feel whole. And after I had baby number 6, I found myself sitting in a hospital bed. And if you've ever been hospitalized, you know how lonely a hospital can be. You might have visitors, you might have people coming in and out to check on you, but it's really a very lonely space. And I began to wonder, is this all my life is going to amount to? And that's kind of a sad, depressing question. But it really got me thinking, is it just going to amount to cooking and cleaning and managing the house and changing diapers and running from one place to the next, saying yes to everyone, and honestly, letting myself go, not taking care of me. And it provoked an even deeper question. Who had I become? Who was I? Because to everybody else, I was Mikey, Isaiah, Christian, Nevaeh, Joshua, and Elijah. I was their mom. And I was Gary's wife. I was operating in my roles, not who I truly am. As a daughter of God, as a sister in Christ, as just somebody who's redeemed and loved and cherished, more precious than rubies. I wasn't operating from that role anymore. Or should I say that identity? And my life was very full. It was very overflow, if you will. But somewhere along the way, I got sucked up in what society tends to look at us as women, as moms, as those caregivers. Be the strong one. Be the one who does everything, who manages it all. Don't ask for help, because that's a sign of weakness. So being in there, in that role, I abandoned myself. And I'm sure you're feeling that too. Where did I abandon myself along the way? And not knowing who I was on the outside of those roles, beyond the wife, the mom, the helper, the strong and dependable one, I became so identified with what I did that when I stopped doing those roles, because again, I was stuck in a hospital bed, there was nowhere I could go. I was only left with my own thoughts. And sometimes that's the scariest place to be. But I really don't think that we talk about this enough. That it isn't the burnout. It isn't a time management problem. And it's not that you're not in gratitude for your life and the roles that you have. But as I said before, it's a self-abandonment. And it really, it might not look like a crisis on the outside. It's that internal that really makes it so dangerous. Because when we don't let anybody in to see what's happening or to call on for support, to ask for help, nobody knows. We put on that smile and we often say, I'm fine. How many times have you said that? I'm fine. Everything's fine. And you put a smile on your face and you just keep on moving. Or, I got it. I can handle it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Ultimately, you're saying, don't worry about me. And one day you end up looking in the mirror and you don't even know who that woman is anymore. You've lost her along the way. So it's that moment when you're quiet and it's unsettling, that you really feel this, what's happening? Where do I need to start making changes in my life? But again, you can't quite put your finger on it. And I like to call that moment that you start that recognition process, that you know that something needs to change. I call that the moment before you arise. It isn't necessarily like a rock bottom that you've hit, or maybe you have, but it's a disruption. Again, that something has to change. Where does that come from? How do you go from that capable, faith-filled, intelligent woman who ended up as a stranger to yourself? It starts as a little tiny lie that's so embedded in our culture and in our mindsets. It's in what we saw growing up. The women in our lives that they just handled it all. You didn't see them take a break. They were up from dawn until dusk and even beyond. Managing the home, managing back then, a lot of times, the family farm, because that's what they did. They took care of the kids, the cooking, the cleaning, everything. You didn't see mom or grandma necessarily take a break. So that lie is what you watched growing up. And you took that on for yourself. I know I certainly did. Because you are what you do. But again, that's a lie. Because who are you when those roles disappear? That the lie continues that your value, it lives in the output. It lives in everything that you do. That your worth is based on how productive you are. That your identity is your role. So we prove it when we get sucked into hustle culture, into overfunction. And when you begin saying yes, when you really want to say no, you keep piling the stones one layer at a time until all of a sudden it gets real topply and it's about to fall over. You make everybody's urgency or emergency your emergency. You start performing from that strength while also running on empty. How many of you heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup? That's a pretty common one, but yet we continue to do it. We have to figure out how to pour from the overflow when the cup is so incredibly overfilled because we know that we're filled up. It's not asking for permission. And I really, really want you to hear this today because your brain needs to hear it, and I really need you to feel it. That you are not your productivity. You're not the titles that you carry. And you are not the sum of everything you manage. Your value and your worth does not increase by your level of exhaustion. And I really hope that you hear that and feel that. Because you weren't designed to be just useful. or to be in this constant performance mode. You were designed to be uniquely you in all of your ways, whatever that is. Because there was a version of you that existed before you took on all of those roles. And I want you to think back to the time before maybe you had kids in your life, before you had a spouse in your life, before you had a business or a job. It doesn't matter what it is. I want you to think of who you were before all of that. Sometimes it's easier to go back to our childhood. That carefree spirit that just lived life, that didn't have to worry about adult responsibility. Think back to you then. Were you carefree? Were you playful? Did you have an imagination? Were you a daydreamer? And then as you got older, more responsibility happened. More life happened to you. And you started to shrink that carefree spirit back. It started to disappear. Expectations and to-do lists started to happen. But I want to tell you, that inner child carefree spirit, it's not gone. It's just a little bit lost. So it's time to find that carefree spirit again, that true identity. And it's not about walking away from your life. I'm not asking you to do that. It's also not about dropping responsibility, because as we know, we still are going to have day-to-day responsibilities. But it's a knowing of who you are, regardless of what you do. Being so rooted in your inner and deep God-given identity that if your roles were to change today, because some of them will, or within the next week or month, or maybe the next year to 5 years, shifts will happen and seasons will come and go. But you don't lose yourself in it, because you know who you are. And that's the real work. That's where that identity renewal comes in. That's what it means to arise. There is a story in the book of Mark, chapter 5, verse 41. And if you've heard this story before, there's the young girl who she's around like 12 years old or so, that she was very sick. And she passes away. Everybody has decided she's already gone. There's grief. They've given up. But you have her dad who runs to Jesus and says, I need you. Because he was on his way for Lazarus. And Jesus walks in, he takes her hand, and he whispers 2 words to her. And it's Talitha cum. Talitha cum, little girl, arise. That is such a powerful scene in the Bible. And if you've ever watched The Chosen, in there too. That's where Arise and Ascend coaching was birthed from. Because that little girl, she did get up. And everybody was amazed. They couldn't believe it. But that's the miracle. And I really want to say to you, it's time to arise. And I don't know what you walked into this room carrying today, because all of us have different things happening. And you've been going through those motions. You've been having those emotions. Or maybe you've been suppressing them. But believe me when I say that you don't have to carry that. You don't have to carry all of that alone. And you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. None of us truly like to be fixed anyway. But I will tell you that you were designed for more. More than just this version of you that is existing and just kind of going through life. You're in that cloud. Your roles are not your identity. And your busyness and exhaustion, it's not your worth. And sometimes that's hard to hear. Because again, we feel like our exhaustion and it's our gauge of how valuable we are. But it's not. You were made to be fully alive in this thing we call life. To be who God designed you to be. So today, it really starts with that honest question. Not what you do, but who are you? Who are you beyond all of those roles? And I don't want you to think your job, your title, your role. Who are you? That's the question I really want to leave you with. And if you can't answer it in that 30 seconds to a minute without referencing any sort of role that you play as wife, mom, husband, business owner, employee, if you can't reference it without that, then there needs to be some deeper discussion and deeper inner searching. So, I want to implore you today, don't just leave with another note on your paper. Don't just leave with that spark of, yeah, maybe I'll take some action. Maybe I'll dive deeper into this. Because if it's revealed anything to you today, I want you to leave with a decision. A decision that says, I'm done disappearing. I'm done hiding. I'm done performing for everybody else. And I'm done waiting to figure out what comes next. It's time to start coming home to you. And it doesn't have to be a loud, dramatic decision. I will say that if you're ready to take that first step, I do have the Arise Self-Renewal Check. That is my free gift to you today. And I can drop that link in the chat so you can grab that. And I'm sure Diane will make sure that it's posted for you as well. But It's an honest, guided tool for you to just see where you're at. Because it's time to start pouring back into yourself and not into everybody else. It's time to be the man or woman God designed you to be on the other side of doing more. So, I leave you with this. Talitha Kum, little girl, arise. I want to thank you for coming today.
Ashley, that was so amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, because I know you've touched a lot of hearts here. And I see Linda saying, yes, that's her. Teresa is saying, I can relate. And I can certainly say I can relate myself, because this is how Olga and I became business partners. We came from that same space. We kept pouring from that empty cup, and we thought we were doing the right things. So how many of you here could say, yes, that's me? Type yes in chat if that's you. Because as you can see, Ashley, she poured her heart out because that's what she experienced. So she could talk about it. And I just want to say that was me also, but I made a decision. So while you were doing that, Ashley, so anyone with a question, you could raise your hand, or you can use the reacting button in the chat, or you
Okay.
can put your questions in the chat. But as you were talking about that, I was envisioning something that I saw Lisa Nichols just did on one of her lives. And
Okay.
she talked about that pouring from that empty cup. And she
Yep.
showed that glass and the saucer. And she says, when she showed the saucer, she was like, this is where you want to give from that space, to
Yeah.
keep your cup full. Because when we don't, we cheat everyone else. When we think we're giving everyone the best of what we have, we're pretty much cheating them of really our total fullness. So I so thank you and appreciate you today on sharing that your message with us. So is there any questions in the chat for Ashley? So Linda said that was her 2 years ago. Thank you. So Ashley, what could Linda? So Linda, I'm not sure how far you've came, but Ashley, do you have any suggestions for anyone? What can they do next? And
So I did post my free gift in the chat. I did put that in there so you guys can grab that. But honestly, if you've come on the other side of that, bravo. I want you to celebrate that because remembering where you were to where you are today, it's a completely different mindset shift. But I will tell you, it's easy to go back into that space. It's very easy to get sucked back in because it was a familiar, known operation in day-to-day life. So constantly be working on yourself, constantly be in that mode of how can I be better today than I was yesterday? How can I make sure that I'm checking on myself and I'm making my self-care, because that's ultimately what it is, how am I making that a non-negotiable in my life? Because if it slips on the list of priorities, you'll start to notice it and you'll be like, man, I'm really exhausted. What's going on? And you have to ask yourself those questions. Otherwise, like I said, you'll find yourself right back into that same default pattern, as Mary had mentioned, that it just becomes second nature of, oh yeah, I know what this is like. I know where I'm going here. So let's get out of it quickly before it rolls into something far bigger. Yeah. I see Olga's got her hand up. Do you have a question for me?
I just wanted to say that you hit every single nerve in my body right in your conversation, because it's me, of course. And just yesterday, Diane and I were on the call, and Diane asked a question, and I started talking about myself and something, and then I say, "It's okay, okay, let's move on." And Diane is like, "Can I suggest it's not okay? You have to talk about that." you have to give it some energy and thought and awareness and everything. And that was my MO. I would always, dismiss what for a long, long time, I wasn't allowed to feel, basically. It was a not normal thing. Now I can do that, but my default setting is that it's not okay. I cannot talk about my feelings. I cannot feel them. It's not normal and stuff like that. And slowly but steady, I'm working with a coach as well, and Diane is helping me a lot. But it's a huge thing to actually talk about that. And I cannot, Mary said that don't look back. I cannot not look back. I am always there. Not always, no, sorry. But my memories do bring me back. And it's part of my life. And I guess it's going to stay part of my life. I cannot forget anything, but still basically overcoming, going on the other side of that fence is going to take lots of work, lots of help, as you said, because again, I wasn't asking for help before, and lots of support.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's making those connections as to why we operate in our beliefs that way. What happened along the way that makes us feel like we can't be heard. Oftentimes it's be seen and not heard is what you learn when you're little. Don't make noise, don't have feelings, don't express big feelings. So when you make those connections along the way, then you start to find your voice, and it's beautiful to watch. I've watched a client that has found her voice again, and now when I get around her, there are times that she coaches the coach, and I'm like, wait a minute here. These roles aren't reversed, but it's fun to watch when you find that voice again and you do ask for help. So kudos to you, and kudos to Diane for calling it out of you too and not letting you stay there. Teresa, what question did you have?
I'm trying to unmute myself. Sorry.
You're unmuted. I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
And
It's more of a statement, listening to you, it kind of really brought me way, way back. I won't say unfortunately, but I began to be a mother right before I turned 16. So I lost a lot of my growing up years, to be able to be a girl. And there's this statement that my daughter likes to say. I don't know whether it's from a song or whatever, but she says, I'm just a girl. And when my daughter said that, it just brought me back to me just being just a girl again in my life and really focusing on things that make me happy, learning not to carry the weight of everyone else's life on my shoulders, learning to be free, to say yes, to say no, and just make time for me. And at 61, I feel freer. And I know it's nothing, it's not an overnight process. It's going to take me time to really get to the point where I could say, yeah, I'm just a girl again.
yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful place to be when you have that freedom. And again, I want you to celebrate that you're saying yes to you and you're saying no to things that don't serve you.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we take on the weight of everybody else, and we just, get down to the bottom of the list and it's like, oh yeah, there I am.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. And I will say, you don't look 61, my friend, at all. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm
No,
going
we're coming up on time. Did we have Linda's hand up for a little bit so we can make this quick? Of course,
Yes,
go ahead, Linda.
I just want to say that I just Everything you said is amazing, and it is very important that we feed that inner child and do things that we like to do, because I've started back painting and doing artwork and things like that. Just those things I used to do, but I put them aside when I got burnt out, So feeding that inner child with interest is very important as well, like you said.
Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Diane, take it away.
But actually, I just want to say thank you. You said so much there. And because of that, you just reminded us of why I do what I do. Because most of us know, who knows me, I'm also known as the retreat maven. And I just wanted to share a little bit because this is why I love doing retreats. I found who I am at a retreat. I was pretty much my roles and responsibility after spending almost 3 decades working for the agency I work for. And when the question came, who am I? I couldn't answer that question. But I was able to answer that question on the beaches of Mexico. So this is not about Mexico. Olga, if you can bring up that video, I want to share you a short clip. And this is what we're going to be doing in Costa Rica, May of 2027. I'm so excited because we did it in November and it was so awesome that 50% of the participants says we have to come back. And they were like, we're coming back, we're signing up, do this. And I was like, okay. And just going back to allowing divine to move us. So going back to that inner child and tapping into that, we realize that God opens the doors. So here's a little bit about our last retreat. And if you're interested, you can reach out to me and I'll share more details with you. Is there supposed to be sound? There's no sound, Olga.
What I got out of it was a chance to disconnect from society, disconnect from work, disconnect from the hectic life that I was living in New York, and just quiet my spirit, and in the calm of everything, start to rewire my thoughts, the path that I ran to go in, the direction that I want to go in for my future.
It was great because I was really afraid that I was not going to get my purpose. But then on Friday, I had a breakthrough. And I cried. I was very emotional. This is one of the biggest things that happened in my life.
So that's just a little teaser of some of the experiences that happened. And as we move into actually, again, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story and your message with us. And I look forward to you coming back on Ascend Your Path. Okay, for anyone who wants to be a speaker, please reach out to me at, I'll go and put the link in the chat. Our email is support@transform360, the letter U. And you can direct message me. And just to, because I created this space, well, I just want to say it was a whisper from divine that says create a safe space for speakers, coaches, podcasters to shine. And doing this every month, it fills my soul. So I'm so happy to have you on, Ashley, and I look forward to having you back. It's only once a month. Next month, we're going to be having, by popular demand, we're going to be bringing back AC Caswell. Who could say they had a former NFL player on their show? So I'm really excited. So with that being said, Jay, we're going to bring you in. I'm going to say a little bit about Jay. And Jay, before you even start, can you share? Jay was with us at the retreat. Can you share a laser share of how your experience was at our retreat in Costa Rica?
Certainly, it was a wonderful experience. In fact, I'm going to talk about the retreat during my talk. So let me just address it there.
Okay, cool. So let me tell you a little bit about Jay. Okay, I was gonna look for my screen, but Jay's is short. Jay spent over 3 decades as a consumer packaged goods marketer. He spent 12 years as a real estate investor and private lender. Now he is retired and he's also a widower. He's living his dream life now, sharing what he believes and what is helping others to pursue and enlighten their life. So that's just a brief description of Jay. And I know he's going to share more. So, Jay, welcome to our virtual platform. Take it away.
Thank you. And I'd like to say, I hope that this really follows on well with what Ashley said. I thought it was phenomenal. I hope to inspire and enlighten you about how when you get in the right energetic zone, blessings can flow into your life and your progression to your dream life can happen quite quickly. As was just said, I'm a 72-year-old retired widower. So now how can what I have to share be meaningful to you? The fact is, for 68 years, I lived my life under one paradigm. Then I went through some trauma. I made some different choices. And now I'm living at a different energetic level. And the difference in my life before and after that transformation has been quite dramatic. But I want to start with a practice that I use every day that I think is critically important if you're trying to progress in your life. At different phases of our life, we have different priorities and different desires. And when we make choices about what's important to us now, I believe it's critically important to reframe your subconscious mind. I do that through a mantra that I say several times a day. And what you'll find is when your subconscious mind is in alignment with your conscious desires, then you perceive opportunities and challenges differently, and you begin to make consistent choices so you'll progress much faster toward where you want to be. So what's my mantra now? I'm happy, I'm healthier, I'm grateful. It's always a choice. My life is blessed because my state of being resonates with love and compassion for all living things. I see opportunities, make choices, and take actions aligned with my dream life vision and values. I'm optimistic, trusting that desires are always manifesting. But frequently they come in unanticipated ways. And this is a blessing because it pushes us to consider different alternative ways to achieve our desires. And when we're in alignment with the vibration of the universe, blessings can truly flow into your life. I humbly receive with gratitude and choose to circulate blessings through others so they compound. I am living my dream life now, pursuing remarkable experiences and truly awesome people to enjoy them with. I'm loving being Jay 2.0 because of the positive impact I'm having on others. So I intend to tell some stories from the before period, the transformation, and what's happened afterwards. First, I need to define that paradigm that I was living in for the first 68 years. I was truly very competitive. I not only wanted to succeed by myself, but I was driven to outdo others, to push for more, for constantly accelerating. And that had consequences in my life. Let's go back to the very beginning. I was born a fat baby. I was a fat child, and I made a conscious choice to live my life as a hedonist. I was interested in my mental capacities, not my physical abilities. Despite my competitiveness, I never really got into sports. You see, when I was a child on the playground, they always divide up the kids and people are chosen, and the fat boy is always the very last person to get chosen. That didn't match my identity, and so I chose other ways to compete. My mother is a music teacher. I picked up the trumpet, and during junior high and high school, I focused a lot on music. I was in the marching bands and the jazz ensembles. In the orchestra, I was the first chair trumpeter. I got to stand up at the assemblies and play the little solos, and that made me quite proud. When it came time to select an undergraduate school, I chose a liberal arts college. At that point in my life, I was very interested and curious about the human experience. It seems strange to me that so few people ever truly found their purpose and found fulfillment in life, while the vast majority simply live up to other people's expectations and leave remarkably unfulfilling lives. The key distinction in my undergraduate degree, I chose to spend my junior year abroad. I lived in Greece and I traveled all around the Mediterranean. I was primarily focusing on studying philosophy at that point. I believe that immersive, expansive experience early in my life helped me see the world differently than most people do. After undergraduate school, I made two decisions that set a foundation for the remainder of my life. The first, I proposed to my high school sweetheart, a girl I'd met in the 7th grade, taken her to the junior and senior prom. Then we'd gone to different colleges. We started dating other people. But after undergraduate school, I think we knew that we just enjoyed living life together. That marriage lasted almost 48 years before her untimely death. I think most people will admit that was successful. The second choice I made was to purchase my family's blueberry farm that I had grown up. Did I want to be a farmer? No. I knew that my wife and I would be going to graduate school, and I didn't want to start our professional career with a mountain of debt. So we would earn the money first. We ran the farm for 3 years, then sold it, went off to graduate school. I got an MBA in marketing, and I joined the consumer packaged goods industry. Many of the products from General Mills and Sara Lee and ConAgra that you may have experienced, as well as a few other companies, I was involved in for a 35-year career. The key distinction when I was in the corporate world, every company I worked at, I turned the lights on in the morning. Now, why would a person show up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning when the workday didn't start till 8:30 or 9 o'clock? I knew that I wouldn't always be the smartest person in the room, but I knew that I could outwork anyone. You see, when I would show up early morning hours when no one else was there, I could get all of my daily work done before anyone else showed up. That made me available for lots of cross-functional meetings to help the companies work better. When I had subordinates, I could spend more time with my subordinates and help them progress faster. Management noticed that. They also noticed that I was always available and volunteering for the special projects that they always have, that most people are too busy trying to get their own work done to put any true effort in. As a result, for over a third of the 35 years I was in the corporate world, I was at the vice president of marketing level. That fit with my self-identity. I wanted to be a player. I wanted to be involved with all the important decisions in helping companies grow. My corporate career ended in 2008 with the Great Recession. I was working for a privately held company at the time, a large organization. But what do privately held companies do when a recession is coming? They cut back on their marketing. So I found myself out of work when no one was hiring marketers. I trusted that the universe always provides. And one of the downsides that I'd noticed of the environment was that so many people were losing their homes to foreclosure because they were financially overextended. This created significant opportunities in the real estate world, so I decided to jump into that world. I started doing some fix and flip projects, and I started building a portfolio of rental properties for passive income. But my competitive streak came through again. I wanted more. I realized that I could use my marketing skills to raise private capital and only be involved in the private lending part of real estate deals. You see, when you do a fix and flip, you're typically only doing one project at a time. But when I could only focus on the funding part of it, it created leverage. In fact, over a 10-year period, I raised millions of dollars and originated over 150 short-term private loans. That part of my career ended with COVID. See, fix and flips are all about the churn, quick turning. And when the world stops for 6 months to a year and the supply chains get all messed up, so even when you have people trying to do work, they couldn't get the materials they needed, A lot of very good deals turned into bad deals. That was the time that I decided I'd just retire, get out of the rat race, get out of the constant grind pushing for more. You need something to do during retirement. So I went back to studying philosophy. I got involved in spirituality, and that's where I met James McNeil. He had an interesting proposition. He intended to do spiritual retreats at exotic resorts all over the world. And I thought that would be a wonderful way to spend my retirement, to get paid, to go to beautiful places and be in with enlightened people. So I jumped into his program. I think Diane and Olga, who I met in that program, could attest. Even when I showed up in a world of spirituality, my competitiveness came through. I wanted to be one of the first to get certified to be a leader in his program. One of the requirements, as Diane mentioned, of that program was we would constantly going to retreats and other training down in Cancun, Mexico. Following one of those trips, I came home after 2 weeks in Mexico. I said hello and goodbye to my wife because she was spending her retirement years pursuing her passions. She was very involved with women's service organizations, Masonic groups like the Eastern Star, Daughters of the Nile, the Ladies of the Oriental Shrine. Perhaps some of you know of those organizations. She was going on a trip to help raise money for the Shriners Children's Hospital for more equipment for the children. 2 days later, I get a phone call. My wife had suffered a massive heart attack and stroke. She lasted a day and a half and then never be coming home. And this turned my world upside down. As I mentioned, I chose to live my life as a hedonist, not to focus on my physicality. In fact, during COVID, when there was nothing to do but sit at home and read books and eat, I ballooned to over 400 pounds. The other aspect of my family life that I hadn't mentioned is that despite trying, my wife and I never had children. Early in our career, we wanted to establish ourselves first, and then when the time was getting near, we tried, but it just never happened. So when my wife was gone, all of a sudden, I was all alone. I hadn't expected to live a long life because of the choices that I had made in my life. That was one of the reasons I built passive income streams with rental properties, because I wanted to care for my wife. But sometimes life just throws you curveballs. And I was here and she no longer was. As so often happens when you're in grief and experiencing trauma, you begin to reassess your life and the choices that you have made. One of the first things I realized is while from the outside looking in, I had been quite successful. When you define success as more, as trying to outdo other people, there's always more stress. You need more, you need more. And I'd never taken time to enjoy all that I had achieved. That was a point that I decided I needed to make some changes if, in fact, I was going to persist. I needed to address my health. I started going to the Y every day to swim in the pool. When they'd open up at 5 a.m., I'd be there and swim for an hour. It's just the way I roll. I started losing some weight. The second thing I did is I decided to change my energetic level. I believe there are two basic platforms that people fall into. There are the givers and the takers. The givers use their energy to help other people and they get their benefit as they see other people succeed. I had been a taker all of my life. I'd always looking to manipulate the situations, to strive to overcome, to do better than others. However, I needed to do it to get there. And that wasn't serving me with the way that I really wanted to live my life. So I've made it my mission to share what I know, what I believe, and what I have with others to help them in their journey moving forward. And it's made all the difference in the world. The first chance I got to demonstrate through action whether or not that would truly occur, I got a phone call from the best friend that I had in the world of real estate. We'd done many deals together and partnered on some deals. He'd gone through a divorce, I think perhaps because of COVID. But he was financially devastated during COVID, and he knew that I was now alone. And he asked, could he move into my home for a brief time? And I said, I'd love the company, quite frankly. I'm trying to get over this grieving process. And it turned out to be a wonderful decision. Greg is a wonderful cook, and he knew about my health journey. He put me on a keto diet. In fact, in the last 3.5 years that I've been with Greg in my home, I've lost over 160 pounds. Greg and I both enjoy racing, and we started watching a lot of races and putting racing memorabilia around the house. We got a pool table. We started playing pool every night after dinner and hosting parties with people coming over to our home to play pool. I really thought my life is blessed at that point. This was also a time I learned more about Greg. I'd only known him from the world of real estate. But we also began watching baseball games, college games and professional games. And Greg told me his story in baseball. He'd grown up playing baseball. He went to college and played baseball. He wasn't good enough to be into the pros, but he found his own niche. He's very compassionate, very observant, is a great communicator. It turns out he was a great baseball coach at the college level. And then as his life progressed, and he still stayed involved in baseball with youth sports and travel team baseball and all of that. I could tell that was an area of passion for him. At this point, my life got even better. Greg started dating a woman. Her name is Miranda. And she would occasionally come over to the house at first, and eventually as their relationship advanced, she was there more and more, and eventually it moved in. As I got to know Miranda, I really discovered how blessed my life had been. You see, at every twist and turn, I'd found a way to progress, to find something new that I could succeed at. Some people don't live a life like that. Miranda had been born into a family that was deep into drugs, and there was lots of abuse, even the worst kind of abuse that could happen between a father and a daughter. So she got involved in the foster care system and was shuffled around from house to house to house. She never found a loving family like I grew up in. She got married early, had 2 children, but that relationship didn't last either. Again, there was abuse. As I learned more about her story, I realized one of the hesitancies for her wanting to get around me was that virtually every male that she'd run into her life had abused her, used her, and tossed her off. How terrible that is. No one chooses to live a life of victimhood, but some people have that in their history. I wanted to figure out how I could help Miranda move beyond focusing on the past to the optimistic future. One day, Miranda mentioned that there was a historic softball field up in the Pocono Mountains, an area that she had grown up in, that was for sale. Greg and I went off to look at that facility. When we got there, it had basically been abandoned and needed a lot of renovation, but that didn't deter us. We'd spent decades doing real estate development stuff. We knew we could handle that. But Greg's demeanor entirely changed when we walked onto that field. He started to talk about all of the help that he could have in building children, not only on the field, but off the field with such a facility, and how our location there would be great for the Northeastern area in travel team baseball. I had the financial capabilities. Greg had the skills and passion. So Fields of Fun was born. Getting back to Miranda for a second, I wanted to figure out how I could help her like I had helped Greg through the purchase of this business. I had previously signed up to go to the retreat that Olga, or Diane and Olga were hosting that you just saw a picture of. I asked Miranda if she'd like to attend, and at first she was a little hesitant, to travel to a foreign country with a man twice your age and go see a bunch of people that she didn't know one of them. But fortunately, she said yes. And I truly believe that was one of the most magnificent experiences in her life. 8 days in a virtual paradise on the side of a mountain in Costa Rica. All the flowers and the animals, and they had a vegan diet. It was beautiful food, tasty food. But the best part of it was the people that were there. There were 15 or 16 other women near her age who were all aspirational, striving to use their skills and passions to bless the world. And I think this was the first time Miranda had ever been exposed to people like that. Miranda and I really bonded when we were in Costa Rica. One morning while we were there, I was sitting outside watching the sunrise and the hummingbirds pollinate the trees. And I thought about a conversation that Miranda and I had had before we left to come to Costa Rica. One day she said to me, "Jay, you're so kind and loving and giving. You're just like the father I wish I always had, but of course I ended up with the opposite." And of course my response was, "Miranda, you're just like the beautiful daughter my wife and I always craved." Now I'm a little blessed because peripherally I can enjoy your family, your children, your relationship with Greg. When we got home, I pondered and I shocked Miranda with a question. I asked, would she like to consider being adopted? And she said yes. Now, why would a 72-year-old man want to adopt a woman half his age with 2 children who was divorced, who was in a relationship with your best friend, and building a business together with him? Kind of sounds like Peyton Place, right? It came straight from the heart. I have unconditional love for Miranda. I know that building a business can be quite stressful, and I wanted her to know that for the first time in her life, no matter what would happen eventually with the ball field, no matter what would happen with her relationship with Greg, she would always have a loving home that she could come to with her children and a degree of financial stability that she had never experienced in her life. I'm so pleased to say that in early 26, that came to be. And in fact, last Sunday, I was so happy. For the first time in my life, I experienced Father's Day on the receiving side. Both of our lives are truly blessed because of this. Now, I've talked about energetic levels, and I want to tell the story that relates to the ball fields and energy levels. First, I have to tell you a little background. This ball field was built 45 years ago, and in the late 90s and early 2000s, it achieved prominence. In fact, the United States Olympic softball team used this as their home base in 96 and 2000, and they went on to achieve gold medals those years. And lots of people began coming to this facility because of the Olympic team, and the community benefited. And then because of the Olympic notoriety, many more events were happening there, and it was great for the community. Over the years, though, as it transitioned hands and new people didn't know what they were doing, and it deteriorated, as we said, it eventually was just gone, and the community suffered greatly. When the community began to hear that a coach, college baseball coach of some renown, had purchased the facility with the intention of rejuvenating it to its former glory, people started coming out of the woodwork, wanting to learn more and wanting to know how they could help. It was a synchronicity that we met a very key influencer in the area who introduced us to so many other people. One of the things about the facility, Greg and I knew that we could renovate the fields and the building that was there, but what was missing was an indoor facility so you can train year-round, not just host games in the summer. And as well, you can have activities during an inclement weather rather than just sending everybody home. One of the people that an influencer introduced us to is a very significant family foundation. And when they got to meet Greg and understand his passion for helping the children, they mentioned that about 10 miles away from our fields, they had an indoor facility that had been underutilized because they didn't have the right people to manage it. And they would offer to make us partners in that facility to run everything related to the ball sports. A true blessing, unanticipated. Rather than us having to work and spend $2 or $3 million to build a facility on our own land, we now had access to a facility right down the road. But that was just the beginning, because they're in the deep end of planning for a groundbreaking coming up later in 26 for a brand new, very expansive facility, $22 million facility that we're going to be partners in. That they've asked Greg to help design everything related to the inside of that facility that relates to ball sports, because he's been to so many, he knows exactly what's needed. Once again, unanticipated blessings. I'd like to tell one more story about energy and about synchronicities that happen. When we purchased the facility last summer, there was a residence at the facility, and Greg and Miranda moved up to the facility, and I was expected. I was 100 miles away. I came up frequently, but just for the day. And I missed being our extended family all together. When it got to be the winter months, I fully expected they'd be back in Harleysville. But there was so much going on with renovations and all these new relationships and plans for the future and important things happening. It was clear they were never coming home. And as a family unit, we talked and we said, hey, the logical thing is for me to move up to the Pocono Mountain area. Miranda knew the area well. I asked her to help me find a lovely home in the area. And the first words out of her mouth was, we need to move to Mountaintop. It's the real gem in this area nearby our fields. So she worked with a realtor. I had said, this is about what my house should sell for in Harleysville. Let's get something that's approximately the same value. We thought it'd be simple trade. The very first day that I came up to go out with Miranda and Greg and look at houses with the realtor, Miranda had one house picked out that was at the top of their list and many others that we thought we would go through. When I walked into that first home, I knew this was absolutely perfect for us. Located at a golf course, 2 acres, huge trees, beautifully landscaped, big stone house, a pool out the back with a gazebo that with a fountain that flows into the pool. We even got the prior owners to leave this huge trampoline out back that they'd purchased for their grandchildren. Now Miranda's children are over swimming in the pool, playing on the trampoline. We're sitting in the gazebo having family meals together. This is my dream life. What I hadn't realized before the transition of location was that while my home in Harleysville will sell for $225 a square foot, this beautiful home in Mountaintop I purchased for $138 a square foot. A huge upgrade in lifestyle. I'm so pleased this is where I'll spend my final years, and for decades, Greg and Miranda can enjoy this property. So I'd like to end in make two comments. 4 years ago, I was devastated. The love of my life had passed. Turns out that James's program for the retreats was falling apart. I was in bad health. I didn't have a reason to live more. And then I made some choices. I changed my energetic level. And now, 3.5 years later, I'm living in a dream life house with people that I love, working on a business that will be a legacy business with the help of others that will serve tens of thousands and ultimately hundreds of thousands of people. Dreams do come true when you're at the right energetic level. And one way you get at that energetic level is to reprogram your subconscious mind to what you truly desire. So once again, now that you've heard my story, perhaps my mantra will have a little more meaning for you now. I'm happy, I'm healthier, I'm grateful. It's always a choice. My life is blessed because my state of being resonates with love and compassion for all living things. I see opportunities, I make choices and take actions aligned with my dream life, vision, and values. I'm optimistic, trusting that desires are always manifesting. Often they come in unanticipated ways. And this is a blessing because it pushes me to consider alternative ways that I can achieve my desires. And when I'm in the right vibrational state, synchronicities occur and blessings begin to flow into my life. I am living my dream life now, pursuing remarkable experiences and truly awesome people to enjoy them with. I'm loving being J 2.0 because of the positive impact I'm having on others. Thank you.
My God, this is so remarkable. I thank you so much. And my heart is full. And I'm so happy. I was so happy to really wish you a happy Father's Day. And it really it delights me. I see Chris has his hand up. Chris?
You knew I was going to be the first one to put my hand up on this one. So it resonated with me. And Jay, just thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. And, you never know what God has a plan for you and things that we may see as disaster. He's like, just give me time and I'm going to work it out. And coming from someone that my daughter, same way as her daughter or dad wasn't in her life. So it's your blood doesn't determine your family. So thank you for being a step up dad and being the dad that she needed and also being the father that you needed to be. And it's not easy to do that. And so many times we're here about men walking away from responsibility, and then you give hope to other people because men like you step up and run to responsibility to be there for someone and to be that leader that they need to make sure that they're healthy too. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for your story.
Thank you. There are comments.
Chris, thank you as well because you're raised in Lamont as well. So you being a dad. So it's so awesome. And going back to what we always hear is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And we met Miranda. She's such a beautiful woman. And I'm looking forward to coming up to the house. So yes, I'll be there soon. So I know we're coming up on time and we have Miss Carla Hooker in the house. So is there any questions for Jay or even any comments you want to make from his presentation? But I want to just mention this one thing before we bring on Carla. I just want to ask if you can come on camera, please do, because we're going to take a photo right before we bring on Carla. Is that okay? So I'm so excited. So you can put your hand up if you have a question for Jay. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about, and when Jay talked about giving instead of being the taker, isn't it awesome to be a giver? And I remember seeing this quote where it said, God is the giver and the gift. I'm going to let you sit with that a little bit. God is the giver and the gift. We've given so many gifts. So it's so awesome to be able to give back. And this is why I just love doing this every month. I also have another group that I host. It's called Manifest, the Secret of Manifesting Your Intention. And we meet every week. It's a bit of a private group. It's not open, but if you want to be a part of that, we'll be meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30. It's the same link, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And going back to everyone finding their identity. So here you go, you see that thread weaving through this message from Ashley's your identity, who are you? To Jay finding his identity, to know that he feels better giving instead of taking. So again, going back to the question that Ashley proposed, that you ask yourself, who am I? Who am I on this journey? So, Olga, you ready to take that photo?
I am.
And as Olga prepares for that, okay, I just want to say again, we're going to be having AC Caswell, former NFL player with the Oakland Raiders. He'll be back with us in July the 25th, our next Ascend Your Path. People kept texting me, oh my God, they got so much out of it. And I spoke to him, he says, I'll be more than happy to come back and serve your community. So he'll be back on the 25th. And I'm so excited to say, we're going to have a couple of people from our own community who's going to share the stage with him. And one is right here, Chris Gray. He'll be sharing the stage with him as well. And we also have someone from Forbes' community, Jan Jansen. She just published her book. She'll be on that platform as well. And we have some more of Forbes' people coming, my sisters from Forbes' community who will be a part of this Ascend Your Path, like Gilna, and hopefully Sandy, you know. And so it's so awesome. So yes, we're filling up the pipeline. So I say reach out and let's create a safe space for you to share your message. And let's keep in mind, it's not just to share your message, it's to refine your message. So when you hit the big stages, the live stages, you're so prepared from practicing right here. This is your playground, okay, to really hone your skill. And I'm excited to host this space for you. Okay, I'm that container. So again, I want to thank you, but I'm about to bring on my sister Kyla Hooker.
Hold on,
I just love.
hold on. Picture time.
Oh yes.
You got carried away a bit. Okay, are we ready to take a picture? Let's smile. Let's do something. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Olga. So just to share a little bit about Carla, let me bring up my screen here. I'm so sorry. I had this open. I don't know. It closed on me. Okay. Oh, just to tell you a little bit about Carla. Carla's topic today is I ain't never been ordinary, nor have you. Dr. Carla Hooker is a humanitarian, speaker, children's dance consultant, and founder of Carla's Kids Dance, where for over 30 years she has empowered thousands of children to build confidence, resilience, and leadership through the arts. Known as the Kids Dance Specialist, she has worked in public and private schools, juvenile justice programs, and underserved communities, helping young people overcome adversity and discover their true potential. Her impact has earned national recognition, including an honorary doctorate in humanitarianism, 2025 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, and a full scholarship to the world-renowned Dance Theater of Harlem. Now, anyone who's from New York, you know what that is. Awarded by legendary co-founder Arthur Mitchell at the John F. Kennedy Center. Let's welcome to our virtual stage the one and only Carla Hooker. So Carla, you're not, are you unmuted? You're not unmuted.
Can you see her video? Because I cannot.
She's on, but she's muted.
She's muted, yes.
Frozen, Carla? Oh, not. Okay, cool. Yes. She's unmuted.
But
Carla,
can you see the video?
Can you hear? You're here, but we're not seeing you. How is your Wi-Fi? Okay.
I had to jump over here into another room, but it's okay. It's all good.
It's all good.
Sometimes in life you got to pivot. Thank you for calling me up, Diane. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Come on, we're excited.
Is my first slide available? If it's not, I'll just keep it moving.
Hold on. Here.
Okay.
Your presentation, yeah, I can share your presentation. 1 second.
Thank you. And if not, I'll just keep on going. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
At least I can see your lips moving.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, I need interaction. I'm a big 4-year-old and I ain't never been ordinary. And guess what? Nor have you. And definitely today, let me know that I'm definitely not ordinary. I was running back and forth from room to room, from laptop to desktop, trying to figure this thing out, because everybody who knows me well knows that tech is not my thing. But just like my Zoom was resetting, God was resetting me and even my message for today. Next slide, please. You and I were never created to fit in. You see this little girl right here? That's the little girl that's still in me right now. This 4-year-old. That's, as my mom would say, Kala, not Carla, Kala. And Kala knew she could do any and everything that she wanted to, even though the doctors at Children's Hospital told her, you need to rest, you need to do this. And then they started trying to put in my head that I need to have as much fun as possible because I might not live to see my 18th birthday. You talking to me? Then when I became 18, they said, well, you really outlived the amount of time that we thought you would live. You probably won't live to see 21. So enjoy yourself. Well, I made it to 21, and then I made it to 30, and I'm still here, just like you're still here. None of us know when we're going to leave this earth. That's all up to God. And everything, every experience, I don't believe anything happens by happenstance. It all is designed by God. And I'm sorry if I offend anyone. Hopefully I won't, but this is my belief. From the time that we were born, I believe that we come here knowing who we are and whose we are. And that little girl, just like the little girl or little boy in you, comes here knowing who they are. They're not shrinking. The little baby in the incubator at the hospital, or in the room in the bassinet with the mom or with the nurses rocking them, or the daddy holding them, or grandparents, those babies aren't shrinking. They're shining their light. They're cooing and oohing, and they're full of life and full of light. And so are you. It's those outside noises and outside distractions that start trying to eat away at who we are. Next slide, please. What doesn't fit isn't always wrong. Now, the outfit I have on, these shoes, I used to love to wear these. They're real cute, aren't they? Bandolinos, they're not red bottoms. I'm not on the red bottom level yet, but they look like they red bottom-ish. That's what we'll call them. I used to love to wear these, but if I try to put these on my feet, I would be just like her, trying to squeeze into something that no longer fits me anymore. How many of us, just by a show of hands, and we all can be transparent here, realize that the shoes you wore before no longer fit? Yeah, if we're honest, the shoes we wore before don't fit. Your shoes from when you were a baby, those little white shoes that everybody's parents used to buy and then have them bronze. I don't know why they did that. I thought that was corny, bronze and shoes, but those shoes don't fit anymore. If they do, show me, and I will give you $1,000 right now. And the shoes, even that you may have had 5 years ago, don't fit. I know the ballet shoes that I had back when Arthur Mitchell gave me that scholarship at the Dance Theater of Harlem, they no longer fit either. So, but what doesn't fit isn't always wrong. Sometimes what doesn't fit is the person that we're trying to change into to please other people. The person who needs to purge, or allow God to purge and prune who you were before, who you've become that you really weren't, because that's not the person he created you to be. So just because it doesn't fit doesn't mean it's wrong. Next slide, please. Your challenges don't disqualify you. Now, looking at that girl right there, I'm like, that girl was like within seconds, literally, of rocking up out of here, saying, so long, bye-bye, I'm out of here. But she decided just a little bit, maybe a few days before this picture was taken, and I believe I took it of myself, or either the nurse, I can't remember. But this is when I had ICU COVID. And I didn't know that the doctors had called my dad and said, hey, listen, she found her cell phone. We didn't even know she had it. It was in the covers. I don't know how it stayed charged that long, because I was in there for weeks, dying and eating away. My body was just, the weight was dropping off, and it wasn't a good thing. All of my organs were shutting down. I was in multiple system organ failure. And I thought for a second, because you got plenty of time to think when you're in the hospital, because like it was either Ashley or I think it was Ashley that said earlier, it's a lonely place. And during COVID, it was even lonelier, especially walking around, people walking around like this, and all you see is their eyes. And they've got on full astronaut gear. That's what I called it. And the doors are shh, shh, like Star Trek, shh, 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 all day long. That's all you hear. And people moaning and groaning. But one day on that bed, I was lying there and I had a visitation from an angel. I thought it was a nurse. I kept trying to look around the curtain because I felt this wind come through the room. And it wasn't. It wasn't the nurse. It was an angel. And the angel pushed me like that, like a quarterback would, like somebody from AC Caswell's team would back in the day. I mean, a hard, heavy hit and say, get up. And I tried to lie back down because I had convinced myself that it was time to die. This challenge was too much. All of this pain that my body was in, I figured, well, I've lived a good life. I'm here by myself. Let me just stop. But then after that hit, and a lot of us need a hit, a wake-up call, like I had gotten, that tells you, look, this is not the end. It's just something you're going through. And if you go through it, it's going to end eventually. Think about an eagle. Eagles are majestic, and they sit up, they rise. They don't hang with pigeons and chickens and have to have a flock. They never try to be like any other bird. They spread their wings. Their wings are long, that wingspan. Think about that wingspan and how they put their beak in the air and they hold their head up. Even when the storm hits, they fly above it and rise above it. And that's what I believe that we are supposed to do. Rise above the storm and soar like eagles, because everything that we need, God already put it in us before we were even a thought, before our parents even created us. It was already done. And we just have to get back and listen and get in tune and align with who and whose we are and who God called us to be. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. Show up anyway. This picture right here was last year, and I'm going to hold it together. This was the day that I laid my best friend to rest. My mom, my bestie, my BFF, Mary M. Hooker. But I was being installed as the first African American or person of color in a VP role in the Sanford Lions Club here in North Carolina, the largest Lions Club in the state. I had to be there because my mother, Mary Hooker, she would have said, girl, you better get your butt in there. You're tired? I'm already gone, but I'm still here with you. Drink some water. What? Drink some water and get your butt in there and show up. We don't quit. So I showed up. I cleaned my face up. I told my God sister Tyra, let's do this. We hugged. We got in the car. I got it together like I'm getting it together now. And I showed up. I showed up anyway. And I noticed not just showing up then for this, but any time in my life, and I want you to think back to any time in your life that you showed up anyway. Was there a big difference being made? Did God elevate you once you decided, I'm going to show up anyway? Well, in my life there was, and I'm sure if you're sitting here thinking back, if you close your eyes and think back, there's not just one time, not just two times, but I know there's several times that you showed up anyway. 2 years ago, I was booked on a podcast and my dad was transitioning. My other BFF, my road dog, my sleeping sleeping slumber party dude, my buddy, my ace boon. And I cried all the way home from the nursing center because I didn't want him there. I wanted him with me. And I got up, I went in the bathroom, the light started shining brightly, like a Moses moment from the Bible. That's the same light that was up there. It was like, get yourself together and get on there anyway. Because I was thinking of all kinds of things I could tell Cindy Gold that I wasn't going to do it. But I cleaned my face up. I had to do my makeup over because my mascara and everything was running. And I got on there. And guess what? When I showed up, I don't even remember what we were talking about that day. But after I showed up on her shows, and she had several international shows where people were watching simultaneously, we had 3.3 million viewers. I couldn't even fathom that. I'm like, 3.3 million? A lot of my Facebook posts don't even get 3 people. 3.3 million? Yeah, because that's what God wanted me to do. He wanted me to push past my limitations and let him take control. He said, daughter, I have you. Reach up and hold my hand. I've got you. Next slide, please. Your extraordinary is somebody else's breakthrough. I'm going to say that again. Your extraordinary is somebody else's breakthrough. And this kind of combines with the last slide and this, the last anchor, number 4, and this anchor, number 5. And I don't know what, God has a sense of humor because my elevation always usually is surrounded by someone's death and transition. So I guess I can look at it as a death and an end here, but looking at it in a positive way and trying to look at it through God's eyes, it's a lifting and a homegoing and an elevation as well. My Uncle Frank had passed, and we had a bad snowstorm in DC. And I had an invitation to go to the Kennedy Center to meet Arthur Mitchell. And I had been speaking about this for months because he had an article in the Washington Post that he was recruiting new dancers for the Kennedy Center Dance Theater of Harlem residency program. And I was like, oh, I got to take my dancers. I got to take my dancers. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Well, anyway, I took them to the audition. I'm backtracking for a second. I took them to the audition. They didn't even have leotards to wear. I went to the thrift store. I went to Morton's. People in the DC area know Morton's is not a high class store. It's not a Macy's or a Neiman Marcus. You find stuff in there a little flawed, a little frayed. The one arm might be up, the other one might be down, but you can work with it if you know how to put on clothes and fix it up. So that's what my mother and I did. We spent all night dyeing stockings and coffee grounds because we needed to match the skin color of the kids, just like the Dance Theater of Harlem does. And you're probably saying, well, why were you all doing that? Well, back then in 1990, they didn't sell the different color tights. You had to dye your shoes yourself, and you also had to dye the tights to match. So you would have one continuous line. The arms would match the legs and not have brown arms and white or pink legs. So that's what we did. I took the kids, they auditioned, and they said, he wants to meet you. Arthur Mitchell wants to meet you. He said we did good. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was happy for them and encouraging them. But in my head, I'm like, this man probably tells everybody that. Well, fast forward, that's why I had the invitation to the Dance Theater of Harlem at the Kennedy Center. But when my uncle passed, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let this pass by. You know, the time is just not right. And my late brother, beloved brother, Wayne, he said, that we affectionately call Seal. He said, you need to go anyway. I said, do you know how late I'm going to be? You can't be late for Arthur Mitchell stuff. That's just not how he operates. He said, Carla, I'll go get your dress out the dry cleaner. Just get it on, get dressed at Aunt Lena's and go. Well, I went and I was over an hour plus late. When I walked in, I didn't even see any chairs. And this was 300 and something people, dance colleagues from all over the Washington metropolitan area. And I'm walking in, and then Arthur Mitchell goes, well, I'm only taking one more question. I'm about to wrap this up. And I was like, oh, I drove all the way up here for nothing, wasting my time. I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking. And then my late friend Fabian Barnes tapped me. He said, move back. And he said, hey, tell him she's here and pass it down. So they were passing it down. And I was like, oh, good. I guess it's Debbie Allen. I can't wait for this. Whew, at least I did. I'm going to get something out of the deal. And he told everybody, all right, I'm done. Go eat. Enjoy the reception. I paid a lot of money for this food. Everybody go eat. And then I heard somebody call my name. And we stopped for a minute. I was talking to some friends. And I was like, never mind. It just sounded like somebody called me. And then all of a sudden we heard, Carla Hooker, I know you're here in this room. They told me you arrived. Get over here. And I was like, oh my God, he is going to embarrass me for being late in front of everybody. So I walk over, and that day I did have on the stilettos that looked like my finger right now. And I was walking over, but I was so nervous, my legs were shaking like spaghetti noodles. My whole body was shaking. And I finally made it across this big room at the Kennedy Center, and I stuck my hand out to shake his hand, and he did this. And I'm like, I said, you don't want to shake my hand? And now the tears are welling up because everybody stopped their conversations. It was like that commercial, like when HF Hutton talks, people listen. Everybody was listening. Everybody was all up in the conversation. I said, you don't want to shake my hand, sir? And he said, no, I don't. I want to hug you because I love what you are doing in Southeast Washington, D.C., over there at Anacostia, that nobody else is doing. He hugged me. I mean, the hug like this, where you just feel so loved and warm. He said, and not only that, you remind me of myself. He said, because I heard you're only charging those kids $1 a lesson. I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, that's how I started the Dance Theater of Harlem, $1 a lesson. He said, and don't you stop, don't you let anybody get in your ear and tell you what you're doing is wrong. And that's not the right way to do it. He said, because you're serving people that other people have thrown away or given up on or don't believe in. He said, and I could tell from your dancers, out of all these dance teachers in the room, that you care. They're not just your dance students, but you love them, and you love them unconditionally. And those kids walked in the room. He said they walked in the audition with people whose parents paid thousands of dollars a month, and they're paying $1 a lesson. And some of them, I know everybody ain't paying you. And I said, no, sir. He said, but don't stop, and don't ever turn a child away because of that. He said, you'll be blessed because of it. So I continued doing that. And he walked me around the room, and he had his arm around me. And I felt like a little girl who met her prince, not in a romantic way, but in a fatherly way. And the dancers started coming over to me. The males were kissing my hand. I felt like Cinderella at the ball. The female dancers, the ballerinas, were curtsying and bowing to me, and everybody was nodding and bowing like I was a queen. And I was just in awe. And then the tears just started flowing. And he said, what's wrong? I've got more to tell you. And I said, I feel like Cinderella. I feel like this isn't real. This isn't happening. Like somebody needs to pinch me. He said, oh, it's real. And not only that, let me tell you this. He said, I'm giving you a full scholarship to the Dance Theater of Harlem. And not only that, you are going to be in our family for life. And guess what? He meant that. He meant that. Whenever he was at the Watergate, I could call. Whenever he was back in New York, I could call. Whenever they trained, I trained with them at the Kennedy Center. It was unbelievable. When he passed, I felt like a big part of me passed, but I know every now and then, and you'll think this is crazy, you think I'm making it up, but I'm not. And I know he's one of my angels watching over me. When I'm feeling maybe a little not like myself or having a bad day or a crisis, I can turn on a YouTube and Arthur Mitchell will pop up, just like out of the blue. And I'll listen to those tapes and old videos and shorts of him to keep myself inspired and remember that day that I just told you about. So what am I saying? Why am I sharing this story? Kyle, I don't even like ballet. I don't want to see a bunch of people dancing around with their underwear on in a tutu. I'm saying it because anything is possible. And when you align with your purpose and when you believe it in your heart, miracles happen. Next slide, please. Now, before I get to a free gift or any of that good stuff during my 5-minute question and answer period, what I want you to remember, if you don't remember anything else that I say today, from the tears that almost got to the ugly tears, as Mr. Les says, the ugly tears, but I'm just real. And I want you to be real with yourself. Be who you were called to be. Stop allowing people, situations, and circumstances to stop you. They're meant for you to go through them. So many people want to go around them like that hamster or guinea pig on that wheel, just spinning, 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 spinning. And the longer you choose to dance your way around them, and I didn't, pardon the pun, but dance your way around life circumstances and the things that are meant to make you grow, the longer you're going to stay stuck in it, and the more you're going to get of that same lesson until you get what God has for you. Remember the eagle. Close your eyes for a second, please. Think about that eagle and what I described earlier, and how the eagle rises up, the posture of the eagle, and how it soars. Again, not looking for anyone else. It's flying solo, and so are you in this life. But we're allowed to have others with us. But remember, you don't need the approval of the chickens and the pigeons to be who you're called to be. So as I close, remember, I ain't never been ordinary, nor have you. Be unordinary. And somebody's saying, unordinary, that ain't no word. It is a word because I made it up. If the president can make up words, so can I. And continue to live an extraordinary life and be extraordinary. Thank you.
Presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And this is the gift Carla is offering. The first to email her will receive a copy of her book. And I think there's also a coupon involved for a 20% discount of her book that's on Amazon. So I'm definitely gonna have my books. I'm a book person. It's gonna be on my shelf. Yes.
Good. Now let me correct you for 1 second, Diane. The first 3 email responders to my email, and I don't know because it's timestamped, so don't try to cheat, will receive an autographed copy of my book. Now you might not be able to read my handwriting, but as I become famous like my bonus daddy, Les Brown, maybe it'll be worth something one day. It's worth something to me because I feel like I am somebody, like Jesse Jackson used to say, and I'm extraordinary. But the first 3 people will receive on me an autographed copy of this book. The next 7, so that'll make 10 people. I like to do things in tens. Don't ask me why. I ain't never been ordinary. Maybe that's why. Will receive their book at a 20% discount through my direct link. Because on Amazon, you can't get, I don't control their prices. That is with my publishers and my distributors and all that, all the red tape. I don't have any control over that. But through me directly, I can get the book for 20% off. So the first 7, and sometimes I have a heart. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell everybody. I know I think it's 30 people on here. If all 30 email me, you got to email me. Don't call me. If you email me, you'll get that 20% off. And if you've already gotten my book, like my sister Marilyn Pierce that was on here earlier, and get another one for somebody else. Give it to your neighbor. Give it to your church member. Give it to your best friend. But get the book. Les Brown said this book changed his life. And I'm like, change your life? Mr. Les, what you talking about? He said it did. The book changed my life. So I don't argue with him. So it can change yours too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Olga.
Thank you so much, Carla. You said so much there. And it's so easy for us to quit. So it's so, and I know we gotta stay moving forward. Like Les would say, if you fall facing up, so you can get up.
Right.
So we love Mr. Les Brown so much as well. I love him just as much as you do. And it's so exciting that you said that, not just not to quit, is to allow God to take control.
That's right. You can't keep jumping from the passenger seat or from the co-pilot seat. You're not even supposed to be in the co-pilot seat because Jesus is supposed to be in the co-pilot seat. You're supposed to be back there. You don't have to be in coach. You can be in first class, but God is supposed to be the pilot, not us.
Absolutely. And I think Jay also had a free gift, a gift as well, a suggestion, a book recommendation. Olga, if you can post that in the chat as well. Uh, but I just want to share, anyone has a question for Carla? We got 5 minutes. Look at us.
Okay.
I know there's a lot going on in that chat.
It was a lot going on here. I was running back and forth like Lucille Ball.
But going back to the thread that weaves through everyone's story, and it's unplanned.
Right.
Okay. So it goes back to Ashley's, going back to that little girl, and going back to the identity that Jay talked about. And here you are, you brought it right back to the little girl. Okay. It's okay to go back to your inner child and find yourself. It's so exciting. It brings me so much joy. And sometimes I'm like, oh, God, girl, why are you doing this? But when we have moments like this, it's like, I don't care. Like Forbes would always say, even if it's one person that show up,
That's right.
will show up. And I go back to their authenticity. Now, anyone who knows me, I love my lashes, right? So I wear my glasses constantly. So this morning I decided I'm going to clean the bathroom, while I was taking my shower. And what happens? My lashes comes out. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be on here without my lashes. And I said, Forbes showed up for her, whatever training we were doing. She had came from the dentist. She had had surgical work done on her mouth all day, pretty much for hours. She could barely talk. And she showed up. I said, who am I to say I'm going to show up without these lashes today? I'm going to keep my glasses on. But here it is, going back to you saying, show up.
Show up. When you show up, that is when God uses you the most. I believe that. I will argue down the top scholars of the world, even the Pope. If he said, no, that's not true, I would say, well, let's have a debate here. But every time I've chosen to show up anyway, something great happens. Something great happens. I didn't feel good the other night on Forbes. A lot of people didn't know that. And then she called me up and I'm like, okay. But that night when I showed up anyway, when she did the breakthrough with someone else, God was breaking through for me just that quickly. That's why I cut my camera off, because a book company, one of the largest bookstores in London, told me they were featuring my book in their window and told me they had just bought 25 copies. So I'm telling you, it's true. Show up.
Show up. And I'm glad we have Ryan. Ryan is my buddy. So thank you, Ryan, for showing up. And to see how everyone comes and we show up for each other. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
So anyone have any comments? Anything they want to add to what Carla just said? And this was so amazing. And while if you're looking to find the reactive button on, I see Gilna. Gilna said, oh, go ahead, Gilna.
Oh, Gilda's here.
Hello, beautiful people. Carla, I am so proud of you.
Thank
you have taught me, you know what? You have taught me just to keep going. Because sometimes we don't know what other people is going through, but they are being strong. I also want to thank Diane to inviting me to be part of this today. Ashley, what a amazing story. I'll tell you something. When you keep saying that people die and you keep showing up, you were very vulnerable. And when we are like that, we give in, and you did not. So thank you for teaching me that. I appreciate you.
I love you, sis. Thank you.
Thank you. What an amazing show, Diane. Thank you, and Olga. Wonderful work.
Thank you, Gilna. And I just want to say before we close, I just want to say thank you again, Ashley, for really sharing your story and also for being vulnerable. And Jay, yes, thank you so much for sharing your story and for being the dad and grandpa that you are today. And thank you, Carla, so much the work
you.
that you're doing with these kids. And every time I see her, I said, she has what? No, so, but you just show up and you're so powerful. And there's
Thank
so
you.
much more to give. There's so much more for people are waiting to hear more of you. These kids are waiting to hear more from you.
Thank
And I'm
you.
so excited for the work going back to the not to quit. This, as business owners, we invest so much into not just by showing up, but financially we invest, and I have to say we it's so worth it. It's so because I know it's going to come back full circle. So I just want to remind you again, July the 25th, we're going to be having Jan Jansen, Marissa, all the way from the Bahamas. We're also going to have our very own Chris Gray. We're going to have AC Caswell, and Deidre is going to be dropping in. And who knows? I know it might be a little bit extended, but show up for next week. The replay is going to be in your email by the end of the week. And later on this year, we're going to be having Gilna. She's showing up, and again, we're going to be featured in Influential Women on their LinkedIn. We're going to be splashing all over. But going back again to, I would say to each and every one of the questions that I was asked during the interview. Okay, what advice would I give women who's in business? And I would say, be clear on your message. Don't wait. Don't wait to have all the answers. Okay? Take the first step. And the path is, my favorite Martin Luther King's quote is, you don't have to see the entire staircase. Just take one step at a time. And I think, it's so powerful. Just show up for you. Show up for you. The world is waiting for you to go back again to not so that we be givers, because it's so rewarding. Again, I want to thank everyone for showing up today. Have a blessed and wonderful week. Olga, you want to share something before we close?
I just want to share that I was touched by all three presentations today. And again and again and again, they all aligned with their messages. It was very beautiful. Thank you so much. And of course, enjoy your summer, because I don't know how about where you live, but summer in Toronto is pretty short. So we are going to enjoy a few weeks what we have of the sunny days. And please do the same.
Okay. And again, I talked about our my private group, but I'll give everyone access who wants to join in tomorrow morning. It's called The Secret to Manifesting Your Intention. And it's tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning. We're going to go for 1 hour, but it's a great place for you to check in and be with like-minded women. And we really focus on who we are becoming. Who are we becoming is the same link. Okay, so you don't have to do anything. Go back to the same link that you used today, and you could join us tomorrow morning at 8:30, 1 hour, so we can get ready for church and get set up for the week. So again, I just want to thank you for joining us on Ascend Your Path. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, Georgie.